I don't know if they need to look in the mirror. They're in a different spot. I mean, by all accounts, all three of those got huge deals. And this is the difference when you're dealing with somebody's private money
Hmm.
versus a publicly traded company, right? Like as a publicly traded company in TKO, you're expected to turn X amount of profit. And if you sign Mercedes Monet to a $10+ million contract, if you sign Okada to whatever he ended up getting. I know the reports are different on whatever they ended up paying Okada, and then that made it into storyline a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. If you pay Will Ospreay what he ended up getting, like maybe you end up having to cut somewhere else, or you've got to find a way to be able to make the amount back. And as the post story said, like they don't need any one of those three. I mean, WWE is as hot without them. Now, they still need to then retain the people that they have. You know, they can't let Drew McIntyre or Becky or Seth walk out the door when their contracts expire. You have to keep that going and keep getting, new blood in there. But I like that they missed out on those three personally as a wrestling fan, because that, not that that makes AEW equal to WWE, but it makes AEW more interesting, and it makes AEW, worth continuing to watch and pay attention to. And when there are two competitors and both are willing to pay a lot of money, that's just good for the performers as well. I like that they all went to AEW. I don't think, would WWE be better with Will Ospreay getting ready for WrestleMania 40? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, they've got some really compelling storylines, and this is probably the most well-rounded WrestleMania card in quite some time.
I also think when you are WWE, you got to think about your youth in NXT
Yeah.
and think about what the next generation is. One thing about the WWE that we don't talk a lot about, because these athletes are great, the men and women, is that there's age on that roster, right? The people that we talk about a lot on GKW are 30, 35, 40, 50 years old. And these people are still box office, but you still got to think about your Braun Breakers and those that are in NXT, and think about the future there. Listen, I think that wrestling's best when there's balance across the board. And I think with AEW, even though they have an abundance of talent, the talent they have in AEW, at least if I need Will Ospreay, I don't need him in WWE. I want him in AEW because I know he's going to give bangers. Same thing with Mercedes Monet. Been there, done that. She's already been WWE. Let's see her with different competition. Okada, one of the best wrestlers in the world, is going to take on some of the best wrestlers in the world in AEW. So eventually, you know how this works. There's going to be a talent swap where those three wrestlers we mentioned eventually is going to be WWE. Some of the WWE people we've seen already go to AEW. So to me, it's about balance, Brian. Like I don't need those three in WWE to enjoy those three wrestlers in particular.
Yeah, 100% agree. And almost to both your points, from a business standpoint, if you're WWE and you have developmental and you have these young people, in their eyes, if you look at a Carmelo Hayes, a Braun Breaker, and a Tiffany Stratton, you can look at those three and say, oh, they'll be those three in a decade. And it's going to cost a tenth of what you're paying Okada, Ospreay, and Monet. So they have that to lean back on. Those free agents going to AEW makes them more viable, which makes other people more viable, which makes other companies, more appealing to someone like a Nick Nemeth who isn't in AEW yet, can go to New Japan and work Impact and things like that. We say it all the time. Best for business is best for everyone. If everyone is eating, then that is good for us as wrestling fans.